This week on Art of the Air, our whole interview features lead singer and guitarist for the Chicago-based rock band The Great Crusades, Brian Krumm, who has been performing for well over 20 years, who will be both sharing about the band and his own upcoming solo music projects. Our spotlight is on Michigan City's Footlight Players' upcoming production, Miracle on South Division Street, running November 5th through the 14th.
Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. You're in the know with Esther and Larry. Art on the air today. Stay in the know with Larry and Esther. Art on the air our way. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart.
Welcome. You're listening to Art on the Air on WVLP 103.1 FM and Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM, our weekly program covering arts and arts events throughout Northwest Indiana and beyond. I'm Larry Breckner of New Perspectives Photography, right alongside here with Esther Golden of The Nest in Michigan City.
Aloha, everyone.
We're your hosts for Art on the Air. Art on the Air is supported by an Indiana Arts Commission Arts Project grant through South Shore Arts and the National Endowment for the Arts. Art on the Air streams live at WVLP.org and is rebroadcast on Monday at 5 p.m., plus is also heard on Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM every Sunday at 7 p.m., also streaming live at lakeshorepublicradio.org, and is available on Lakeshore Public Radio's website as a podcast. Our spotlight interviews are also heard Wednesdays on Lakeshore Public Radio. Information about Art on the Air is available at our website, breck.com/AOTA. That's breck, BRECH.com/AOTA. That includes a complete show archive, spotlight interviews, plus our show is available on multiple podcast platforms, including NPR One. Please like us on Facebook, Art on the Air, WVLP, for information about upcoming shows and interviews. We'd like to welcome to Art on the Air Spotlight from the Footlight Players. They are kind of an upcoming production in November that they're going to talk about. We have Director Denise Barco and Assistant Director Joe Blanchard. Welcome to Art on the Air Spotlight.
Hi, Larry.
So tell us about your upcoming production this fall, Miracle on South Division Street, November 5 through the 14th.
Yes, it's called Miracle on South Division Street. It's written by a gentleman, Tom Dudzik, who lives in New York and grew up in Buffalo, where this play takes place. He actually grew up in an area where there was a 20-foot statue to the Virgin Mary next to a barber shop. Barber shop was encased in wood and glass and stone. The legend is that she appeared to and offered world peace. 45 years later, Tom went back to that neighborhood, and the statue was still standing despite the fact that the neighborhood had gone into urban blight. And he decided there was a story here. So he created a family called the Nowaks. And it is based on this statue that their grandfather, who was a barber, built in honor of the Virgin Mary. So the interesting thing is that there's an explanation about this statue that gets discovered during the show. And it takes place on the evening of Christmas.
So how did you come in contact? How did you find out about this play and this author?
Well, Footlight has a play reading committee, and they choose the plays. So this is one that they chose to do for our Christmas play.
And Joseph, tell us a little bit about what your involvement is as assistant director to what Denise is doing.
Well, some of my things are to, help Denise, see if there's anything maybe needs adjusted with character development, things like that, and to, run around and get things that we might need to help out with the actors.
Very good.
Have you been doing all in-person rehearsals, or have you had to do anything remotely?
No, so far.
No, everything's been in person.
And are there any protocols for in the theater at, it's hard to know what's going to happen in November, I guess, but what protocols?
As of for right now, as long as the actors are on stage, they don't have to wear their mask. But if you do come to Footlight to see the show, you will be required to have your mask on the inside.
Well, let's talk about COVID while we have. That's actually taken you down for a period of time. So tell us a little about the impact that that's had over this past year and what you're looking forward to doing, either Denise or Joe.
Well, it shut us down, and we started reopening in June. We did sort of a welcome back Reader's Theater for one acts. We've done some fundraisers. Laura Meyer did Alice, what was that, Joe? Alice in the Heavens or something. And
oh, yeah, it was a musical review.
Yeah. And then Bobby just did We're Not in Kansas Anymore, again, as a fundraiser to keep us open, keep us going. So this is our first, full-length production.
So the actors in this production, have they worked with Footlight before, or is this a new group of actors to the theater?
There are 4 actors in this show, and they've all been on stage before. Clara is played by Debbie Bartholomew, and Clara is the family matriarch. She's kind of large and in charge, no nonsense. She's Polish. She was born in Poland. And then Beverly is played by Bobby Loretzen, who's been on stage before. And Beverly's the oldest sister. She's very sassy. And Ruth is the middle child, and Ruth is the one that wants to put on a one-woman show. But she has to get permission from her family about this story. And she's played by Krista Lundstrom Sobus. And then Jimmy is the baby of the family. And he's a garbage man. He's witty. He's loves his family. And he is played by Alex Bonner.
So tell us what else we might have to come see during the season, other shows you have on the line at Footlight.
Okay. We have The Sound of Music coming up in the spring. We have Jerry's Girls, which will be coming up in February. And there's another show.
I think it's Drinking Habits in April.
Drinking Habits. Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Thank you, Larry.
Do you still have your open mic? Is that still going on?
As of right now, no, just because of everything that has been going on with COVID. We're still trying to ease into things.
Well, tell us a little bit. We're about ready to wrap up here in about 30 seconds. Tell us a little bit how people can find out about Footlight Players, where you're located, website, everything like that, contact information.
For Footlight's website, you can go to footlightplayers.org to find out any information about that. And for our phone number,
I've got it. How about 219-874-4035? That's 219-874-4035. Footlight Players is located at 1705 Franklin Street in Michigan City. Miracle on South Division Street, November 5 through the 14th. And don't miss the other productions at Footlight. We have Jerry's Girls, which is February 4 through the 20th. Drinking Habits, which is in April 1st through the 10th. And The Sound of Music, that's coming in June 3rd and running through the 19th. This is the directors. Denise and Joe, thank you so much for coming on Art on the Air Spotlight.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
You're listening to Art on the Air, WVLP 103.1 FM, and on Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM.
Wanna get in the van, me and all my childhood friends, playing in a rock and roll band, going on the road again.
We'd like to welcome to Art on the Air from the Great Crusades. It's a band that, they look back to many things in Chicago. They've been there for about 20 years and include a whole range of collaborators. But we're going to have one of the people that's actually one of the forces behind it, both doing that and his own solo work, and we're going to listen to some of the music. Please welcome to Art on the Air, Brian Krumm. Welcome.
Hello.
Aloha, Brian.
How are you? Thank you very much for having me.
Glad to have you. Well, we always like to start our interviews kind of with your whole background, how you got from where you were to where you are now. So tell us about yourself.
Right. Well, I grew up in the St. Louis area and also spent a good time in the Champaign-Urbana community where I went to college. But all of this time, I think starting at about age 12, I started playing guitar, and I was also playing saxophone in the school band. So I've been playing music probably for about 38 years.
So did you have a musical family? Were there instruments in the house? Is that how you picked up your first one?
I think I was the first one. My brother Tim plays guitar now, and I occasionally play with him when I'm down in the St. Louis area because they also live down there. But I was the first to sort of pick up an instrument in my household. Although the house was definitely filled with music lovers, I actually used to quite frequently take out a loan for my borrow records from both my dad and my brother. My brother especially introduced me to bands like there's still some of my favorites today: Camper Van Beethoven, REM, and a lot of them new wave bands as well. So it's definitely a house filled with music, and I think I started my first band with people that I actually still play with, believe it or not. All these years later, Chris Motor, who's the current drummer in the Great Crusades, also film composer, TV composer as well, TV music. We started a band when we were in, I think, fifth and sixth grade, and our first gig was actually our sixth grade graduation party. So,
wow, that's pretty good.
Which featured Christian's mom on keyboard. She sat in with us. It was awesome. And I think she sat in on what did we play? We played some old classic rock numbers, but we also played like Stray Cats Strut and some 80s music as well.
So were you the vocalist then? The lead one?
I did sing.
You all share?
I did sing and play guitar. And later on in high school, I started a band with my friends. It was called the Straight Curbs. And we would play, at the Cottonwood Skate Corral. We would play at people's parties. And then eventually we started playing frat parties, VFW halls, Knights Columbus Hall, those type of gigs. Are there
any recordings from that time? I mean,
actually, there are. Yeah, we had a PA with a little built-in cassette tape player that you could actually record live, and Brian Hunt, who was also playing with me back then, and who also is a current member of the Great Crusades, sort of archived all the recordings from back then, and they are quite hilarious and actually not bad at all, as far as performance-wise goes.
What about your voice? Was it deep then as well?
It probably changed quite a bit, as I got older. But I've always had sort of a, not baritone, but I think they did. When I was taking vocal lessons, the short time that I did take vocal lessons, I think they identified me as a baritone. But it's always been pretty deep, I think.
Yeah, hearing the songs on all the things that we previewed for the show, I would definitely classify you as a baritone. And everything. That's
told me. I'm not sure. I didn't research it that much, but anyway. So growing up in the Collinsville, St. Louis area, Collinsville's a sort of a suburb of St. Louis. Was playing in bands all through high school. We played St. Louis quite a bit. There were bands like Uncle Tupelo was around back then. The Urge and a bunch of contemporaries of ours are still playing music today. And then four of us went up to Champaign-Urbana to go to college up there, and we continued on and formed a band there called the Suede Chain. You can still find recordings on Spotify, Apple Music, however you choose to listen to music. You can find our records. The two that we did, and we had quite a bit of success with that band. We opened for Sheryl Crow, Oasis, Matthew Sweet, and we were playing all up and down the East Coast as well as in the Midwest. And that band kind of after college, everybody sort of started going their own ways. A couple of us went out to Los Angeles. A couple of us went to the Chicago area, and that's when I formed the Great Crusades in about 1997, I would think. So St. Louis base, and then I spent about 9 years in Champaign-Urbana, which I still have a lot of great ties to both of those communities today. And it was just a great musical upbringing, two great scenes, and then now based in Chicago. And there's, you can go on and on about the music that's available to see here really every night if you are willing to make that jaunt out to the clubs or to the concert halls. It's a great city to be in for a musician, for sure.
So what would you classify the Great Crusades genre? I mean, I would listen to the things that you send and we previewed for the show, but I'm not sure it's easily pigeonholed. It seems to cover a lot of variety.
Yeah. I think it's rock. It's rock music, but it's got definitely an element of pop on some tunes, and then also of folk and blues, I would say, depending on, it really varies on the song. A lot of people prefer to, compare us to bands that we might sound like, which I think that we get a lot of Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, Tom Waits,
Leonard Cohen,
the Jayhawks, Camper Van Beethoven, a lot of the same bands that we really have loved for years. REM, is all kind of mixed up into this giant musical batch brew, the stew. Yes. Yeah, and that's one great thing about having played music with the guys in the Great Crusades for so many years is that it really is four different people's influences that combine to make the band's sound, which is, it's not really one person saying, oh, let's write a song like Warren Zevon or something like that. But it's each particular song can go from one influence to another.
Brian, did you or the Great Crusades ever play with Steve Wynn and the Miracle 3? Or
we did. Yeah, we did. And that's part of the story behind that song.
I know, because Linda Pittman, she's just great. And I know
I love Linda.
I really love, female percussion.
Oh, absolutely. She's a great drummer. And I've only actually talked to Steve and Linda probably a handful of times, but we played with them, I think, twice at the same festival in a small town called Beverungen, Germany. And that is where Glitterhouse Records is based. That's where they have their headquarters, and that's the label that we were on. The Great Crusades was on for a number of years, and we were back in.
So, how did you make the leap to Europe?
It was funny. It was sort of just a lucky accident. Somehow, a smaller label, Trocadero Records, got a copy of the first Great Crusades record. In about, I think it came out in December 1997, and they got a copy of it, and they asked if they could license it in Europe. And at that point, I really didn't have that much experience with putting out records internationally. I was always focused on the U.S. So it's just really a happy accident that they put out the record, and then they also wanted us to tour. We were like, heck yeah, we'll come over there and tour with it. We ended up just going, the four of us. We didn't even have a tour manager or anything. And Brian Hunt, the bass player, did the majority of the driving. There's some really funny stories about being, on tour in Europe for the first time.
Do you want to share a funny story?
The first tour was hilarious because we spent about 3 hours trying to find the highway in Berlin. We had flown into Berlin, and everyone we asked just kept pointing to where the highway entrance was. This is the Autobahn, the A1. And for the life of us, we could not find it. So we would stop at every, place and go in and try our best German, and then eventually switch to English. But I think the highlight of that first tour was probably when we put regular gasoline into our diesel only.
Oh,
van.
no.
Yes, that was us. We're those guys. And we had to, I walked to the, luckily there's a call box on the Autobahn for, American vans specifically, maybe that did get towed. And then basically the guy that fixed our, that drained the tank and changed out a few parts was basically like, so how much money do you have today?
Right.
Shelling out at that point. It was Deutschmarks still. So it was quite a pretty penny that we changed on that little mishap. But in general, we were blown away because we had never been there before, and people were so enthusiastic about the music, about listening very intently to the music, and not letting us stop either. We would do encores every night, and we only had one album at that point, and so we had to dive into our cover tunes, that we remembered from various other bands. We wrote a couple new songs on the road, and it was just a really great experience, so much so that we ended up going back to Germany, Switzerland, Austria, all over Europe, probably more than 20 times, I would say at this point. But
well, Brian, why don't we take the first song, so we have a sample of what the Great Crusades sound like,
Sure,
and tell us a little bit about Sometimes on Sunday Too, and then we'll go ahead and play that.
Yeah, Sometimes on Sundays Too was basically really inspired by my years in Champaign-Urbana specifically. This is it's really funny because most songs that you write aren't necessarily about a specific night or a specific day, but this one actually is. And it was written about the first time that I ever saw my current wife, believe it or not. And I saw her at this party, and I thought she was really far out of my league. And that's part of the lyrics for the song. But it was at this house in Urbana that she lived there with a few of her friends. And they really did have parties pretty much every Saturday, and also sometimes on Sundays too. So that's the story behind that song. Brief history of Sometimes on Sundays Too. That came out.
I'm so glad that's a personal song, because the lyrics are just there's such a romance about
Thank
some
you.
of just, it's like, while there is there's some really very, very just deeply romantic phrases.
I appreciate that. I tried to reflect, that moment and the sort of the way I was feeling at that point. And can't remember exactly how I came up with the Sometimes on Sundays Too line, but I think that might have come first, and then it worked backwards from there. And that's the story of that song.
Well, let's take a listen to that. This is Brian Krumm from the Great Crusades, Sometimes on Sundays Too.
Can't quite escape this thought, and it's haunting me. Follow me round the room. What if I hadn't been there to see you that night? If I was too late or arrived too soon? You stood at the top of bending stairs with a face I won't forget. Your friends filed in while this was happening on the night that we first met, when there were parties on every Saturday at the house on Elmore Street, and sometimes on Sundays too, and sometimes on Sundays too. I remember feeling so simple as you stared down from the stairs. Thought you were so far out of my league. I hid behind my hair when there were parties on every Saturday at your house on Illinois Street, and sometimes on Sundays too, and sometimes on Sundays too. Little did I know we'd meet again. Accidentally, while talking to friends. Little did I know I'd fight for your love. Truth be told, I thought you glowed like a star shining through the heart of the blackest night. I would never put up a fight, would let you have me any way you wanted me to be. There were parties on every Saturday at the house on Illinois Street, and sometimes on Sundays too, and sometimes on Sundays too. There were parties on every Saturday at the house on Illinois Street, and sometimes on Sundays too, sometimes on Sundays too.
And that was from the Great Crusades, Brian Krumm, Sometimes on a Sunday Too. Great lyrics.
Oh, yeah, Brian, I'm just so happy that's a personal experience song, because when I read the lyrics and I listened to the song, I mean, like, truth be told, I thought you glowed like a star shining through the heart of the blackest night. Like, how beautiful is that?
Thank you. So. That means a lot, because sometimes when you're writing songs, you like, there's certain times that you say, is anyone even really paying attention to any of this? Especially when you play live, because a lot of times I don't know if it's, if you're listening to someone play a song that you're not familiar with the recorded version of it, sometimes it's actually hard to tell what the lyrics are.
Well,
but that really means a lot that people, take time to read the lyrics and listen to the lyrics, and because I definitely spend a lot of time on it.
When you do live, you do mostly your own stuff, but you also do covers, and so what do you cover?
Oh, let's see. What have we been doing lately? It kind of changes. We do the last gig we did The Seeker by The Who. I don't know if you're familiar with that song. We do like a lot of bands that we respect. I think we used to do Camper Van Beethoven, a couple different songs by them. Did some Warren Zevon in the past.
Any Nick Cave? Those lyrics always bring me to tears.
We've never covered Nick, and I think that might just because he is such a hero of mine, and I don't know, it's hard to do a Nick Cave song justice. It's hard to sort of do it in your own style, which is something that we really kind of we always try to do that. We don't really play note for note versions of songs. We try to interpret them and sort of put them through the Great Crusades blender, And Nick Cave is so stylized, and that it's very hard to do that. The same thing with Tom Waits, who's another big hero of mine.
Yeah, so much is in their delivery and the motion in their, their delivery. Yeah.
Yeah, we have done one Tom Waits song called "Last Leaf," and it's a song that features Keith Richards is also on the recording. It's also been one of my favorite Waits tunes, and it's a newer one too, so it's not.
We have a mutual friend in Michelle Schaefer, and she's doing right now a series of songs that are darker versions of songs that we know. Like, I don't know, you have to check out her Moon Dance. Have her send you that. It's like so incredibly beautiful.
Oh, I'll definitely check that out. That sounds amazing. I love Van Morrison.
You're listening to Art on the Air with our guest today, Ryan Krumm of the Great Crusades on WVLP 103.1 FM and on Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM. Well, we'd like to explore a little bit more about the Great Crusade. Tell us about the song Sons and Daughters and the little story behind that, and then we'll take a listen.
Sons and Daughters, yeah, that was sort of almost a new direction for us, because it is a little bit more of a folk song. You know, it's not as rock as the stuff in the past. It was probably written in around the time that, not unironically, that we started having kids. The band members literally started having sons and daughters. You know, but it was also inspired by some of the trips that we took to Germany. There's a sit around the table is mentioned in the lyrics, and that's about a specific table that belonged to a very good friend of ours, Rimbert, who is the one of the main guys at Glitter House Records. And anytime we would tour, we would end up sitting around this table at the end of the tour or midway through the tour, and just sitting there having some drinks, laughing, telling so many stories. And that's really, you know, part of the inspiration behind the song. But it's also sort of a call to action, you know, to sort of seize the day. And as you're getting older, that's no excuse to not do that. You know, that's really the spirit behind the song.
Very good. Let's take a listen to it. Sons and Daughters from the Great Crusades, Ryan Krumm.
And the younger boys, I guess we take things as they come. Ain't it funny how we couldn't wait to get away. Falling down, picking up pieces. Some of us have just begun to make the same decisions they did when we were the daughters, when we were the sons. Come sit at the table. Come sit while you're able. Come sit while you're stable. Don't hold back, come on, raise the sails. Jump the train off the rails. One day you'll tell the tale to your sons and daughters. I can't believe I got to know you so well. We got stories that we'll never tell, 'cause you are daughters and our sons, at least while they're still young. I wrote this down while I was thinking. Guess I wear it all on my sleeve. Am I getting almost too young? And one more thing before I leave. So come sit at the table. Come sit while you're able. Come sit while you're stable. Whoa. Don't hold back, come on, raise the sails. Jump the train off the rails. One day you'll tell the tale to your sons and daughters. I can't believe how lucky I got. Even though I never tried to keep what I caught. I can't believe how lucky I got. Even though I loved and I lost, I still got a lot. Yeah.
jump the train off the rails. One day you'll tell the tale to your sons and daughters.
And that's from the Great Crusade, Brian Krumm and Sons and Daughters.
Yeah, I can't believe how
Yeah.
lucky I got. Doesn't that say it all?
Yes.
That does really
So-
say it all.
I would love to talk about the Montrose Saloon and how that happened. And it seems like it's such a blast. And
Yeah, it is. It's been great. I've done two of the shows in the, I guess you could call it a residency. It's the 15th of the month, and I was doing that I've done August and September. Now we have October, November, and December left. And I guess it was just my idea that I pitched to Eric, who's the main talent buyer over at Montrose Saloon, also the owner. And I just thought it would look good on a poster. 15, big 15. And it's also kind of a catchy way to remind people to get out and enjoy the show. It just so, because a lot of people ask you, when you're playing next. Now I just have to say on the 15th of the month, every month for the rest of the year, at the Montrose Saloon, which is right in pretty much in the heart of Chicago's northwest side. It's on Montrose, and Richmond, I believe.
So what is it like because we're still in our pandemic. So what's the room like for you?
It's a small room. I think the capacity's under 100. I think it's technically 85 people that would be packed, pretty sure. But it's a really magical room, one of my favorite places to play. It reminds me of some of the clubs that I used to play back in, my heyday, back in Champaign-Urbana, when I was traveling more around the East Coast for smaller clubs. But they do a really good job there. You have to wear masks when you're not drinking, which can be challenging if you're, taking on and off the mask, but they also are requiring proof of vaccination or negative COVID test within the 48 hours before the show. And, they really treat the musicians well there. And it's a great room. All the people that work there are music lovers. And Eric, the owner, is also plays at the club himself too, so he's got a number of projects happening that are very exciting. And it's a good place, good vibe, good tunes and good drinks.
Brian, you're embarking on some solo work here. And,
Yes.
Well, first talk about Steve and the Miracle in just a second here. One thing I've noticed, though, especially in your solo work, is how it was engineered. It's very stereo perspective, being an old recording engineer, and it has a very much of a full stereo sound, which doesn't sound over-processed. So that was just a comment about that. But tell us about Steve and the Miracle.
Yeah, I was going to really quickly say that Christian Motor is doing the production along with Brian Leach, who's so it's kind of like it's a solo record that I started working on, and during the pandemic, I took every day at 5:00. I would literally take an hour out of my day and try to write a song, and then I managed to string together about 25 straight days, which I wrote a song per day. And most of them turned out okay, believe it, unbelievably. But the Steve and the Miracle 3 was based on, I was trying to come up with a song that day, and I just looked on my wall, and there's a poster from a festival that I played with Steve Wynn, and the Miracle 3 was one of the bands on it. And so those lyrics that you hear in the song are basically just going down the poster of all the bands listed on that poster. So it's for the festival is called the Orange Blossom Special. And this was in...
Wow, what a great lineup that was.
Yeah,
Wow.
Absolutely. So you hear all those different band names, Neil Cassell, mentioned him there. He recently passed away, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Friends of Dean Martinez, Hazeldean, all these different bands we played. So it's kind of just like a shout out, to all those guys that we had such a great time with.
Well, let's take a listen to that. This Steve and the Miracle 3, Brian Krumm.
When I'm big in Iowa, I've hung out with Neil Cassell. Wake me when I'm under, I'll go to places in hell. Hey, there's Tom Heyman. Hey, Rito Burrell. Do you remember that summer so long ago? Steve and the Miracle 3, they're gonna go take the stage. I'm riding on my lazy horse with Hazeldean. It all took place at 25 Greenway, a place that's heaven on earth. I feel so grand about it all, hanging out with Big Jim Wayne. I stay clay on the river, feel like I'm on a Great Crusade. I'm a friend of Dean Martinez, and now I have to play Steve and the Miracle 3. They're gonna go take the stage. I'm riding on my lazy horse with Hazeldean. And that's Steve and the Miracle 3. They're gonna go take the stage. I'm riding on my lazy horse with Hazeldean. With Hazeldean,
And that's Brian Krumm, Steve and the Miracle 3. And you're working on other things like that on your new venture here. You're kind of, I don't know if you call it a solo venture, but it's more about you. It's not doing the Great Crusades. And you have one called Stuck in the Van. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that is a lot of people have reacted to that song. That I thought originally it was more of a throwaway song, but a lot of people have really liked it. So I guess we'll keep it around for a while. But that's really the story behind that song is really based on back when I was touring with the Suede Chain, doing all those shows on the East Coast. I think the lyrics actually mention, New York and Washington, D.C. We would play New York City quite a bit back then, and I always loved going, but also all the cities in between as well, working the way out there. But it's really a story about, what it's like being in the van, getting in the van, being stuck in there for a month, and all the fun parts, as well as all the, the tedious parts.
So did you have tag-along roadies? Is that what I mean? Because
we did. Yeah, we had a lot of friends would join us, and then they would either love it or hate it, or, they'd join us for a few days and then maybe shuffle off to a different part of the country. But yeah, we did have a lot of friends that would join us. So a lot of great memories about those years.
Well, let's go ahead and take a listen to that on your road trip, so to speak, when you're on the road.
Yeah.
Stuck in the Van, Brian Krumm.
wanna get in the van. Me and all my childhood friends, playing in a rock and roll band, going on the road again. Miscellaneous friends, all trying to make amends. they can come for the ride, so they can see what it's like inside. And they'll see, yeah, what it's like living with me. And they'll be stuck with me for the rest of the month. Me and all my friends slam the door and it all begins. Whose turn is it to drive and make sure we all stay alive? Maybe a two-night show. Maybe we'll all strike gold. Find a girl or a guy who let us stay and he won't ask why. Tennessee, Kentucky, yeah, we've never been. NYC, Washington, D.C. will never be the same. Doesn't seem that long ago we saw places never been before. Slipped on a beach on the Jersey Shore. Can't remember what we were hoping for. We were hoping to be heard. Along with me and my friends. You think next time you come again to take the ride, breathe it in, see what it's like to be in the band. Not sure how many more times we'll go. Maybe we'll grow up and get old. At least we gave it all the run. To spend a day in the setting sun. To find a day in the setting sun.
And that was Stuck in the Van, so if any of you have been in bands, you might know the feeling of that, Brian Krumm. You can empathize.
Oh, no, the best part of that is with all my childhood friends.
That's true.
Yeah, it's true. It's a true line, actually.
You're listening to Art on the Air with our guest today, Ryan Krumm of the Great Crusades on WVLP 103.1 FM and on Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM. Well, you have one more song that we've previewed, and it's kind of a whole different take on things called Just Fade Away. Give us a little bit of background on that, and we'll take a listen to that one, Brian.
That was just some lines that I had been messing around with. I really liked the line about you never laughed at my jokes because you didn't think of them first. That was something that just kind of it's more of a loving kind of swipe at a past relationship, you know, that it's kind of a relationship song, I should say, and just kind of tells the story of that relationship kind of fading away.
Was there depression? Was there a depression involved in it? Because that line, just fade away. Mm-hmm, it sounds very much like there was like some sadness or some.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I don't want to give away too much about.
No, of course not.
The secret behind this all, but yeah, there was definitely an element of that came into the equation.
Well, let's take a listen to that. Just Fade Away, Ryan Krumm.
I loved you when no one else would, and I loved you when no one else could. When you burned your pretty Better not remember the day you stepped on a plane to take you away. It was easy to escape the clouds up above. You just didn't know how to be enough. You had to just fade away. Ooh, just fade away. Maybe tomorrow's not today. Ooh, just fade away. Never forget what I had to say. Ooh, just fade away. Maybe tomorrow's payday. Ooh, just fade away. I loved you when no one else would, and I loved you when no one else could.
Just Fade Away, Brian Krumm on his new solo gig there.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you very
so
much.
Brian, with being musical, what about the children? Are they interested in music?
They
Sometimes it
are.
happens,
They
sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, my daughter Hazel is quite a songwriter herself, and she has quite a few songs in the can that she's still going to record at some point. She's a very talented singer as well. My daughter Vivian and my wife Laura, every year we do a Christmas album actually, and we record about 4 songs, and then we send it out to her family, and it's Krumm on Home for Christmas is what it's called.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And you mentioned you were in another cover band. You want to hit that real quick?
Soul Daddy is a bunch of friends of mine, and we're started as part of North Park Elementary School, actually, where Hazel and Vivian, Hazel went to school there, and Vivian's still there. So a bunch of the musical dads got together and formed a band, and now one of the moms, Jessie Hoteling, is also in the band as well. So she's the soul mommy, I guess. Yeah, but she actually also sings on some of the solo stuff. That's the voice that you heard on.
Is that
the
Just
band.
Fade Away? I was
Yep.
going to ask
Yes.
who was on Just Fade Away.
And I should mention that those songs are sort of sneak previews. They're not actually finished. They're all rough, still being worked on. So you just wait till they're finished.
Well, real quick, babe, as we wrap up here, tell us how people can get in touch with you.
Yeah, please, you can go to thegreatcrusades.com, or you can contact me personally through Facebook or Instagram or any of the other social media channels out there. I think is the way people do it these days.
They sure
Maybe
do.
spell your name, because it's
KrummBrian.
Very good. Well, thank you. That's Brian Krumm from the Great Crusades. So happy to have you on Art of the Air, sharing your music from both the Great Crusades and your own solos. Thank you so much, Brian.
really fantastic.
Thank you,
Thank you,
guys.
Brian.
Thank you very much.
You've been listening to Art in the Air, and we'd like to thank our guests this week on WVLP 103.1 FM and Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM, our weekly program covering arts and arts events throughout Northwest Indiana and beyond. Art in the Air is heard every Friday at 11 a.m. and rebroadcast Monday at 5 p.m. on WVLP. Art in the Air streams live at WVLP.org and is rebroadcast on Monday at 5 p.m. Plus is also heard on Lakeshore Public Radio, 89.1 FM every Sunday at 7 p.m., also streaming live at lakeshorepublicradio.org, and is available on Lakeshore Public Radio's website as a podcast. Our spotlight interviews are also heard Wednesdays on Lakeshore Public Radio. Thanks again to Greg Kovach, WVLP station manager, and Tom Maloney, vice president of radio operations for Lakeshore Public Radio. Our theme music is by Billy Foster with a vocal by Renee Foster. Art in the Air is supported by an Indiana Arts Commission Arts Project Grant and the National Endowment for the Arts. Underwriters for Art in the Air, Walt Breidinger of Paragon Investments and Mary Levan, Arts Patron. Art in the Air is always looking for financial support. We'd like to thank our current supporters. If you're looking to support Art in the Air, Esther and I especially would invite you to become an underwriter of this program in particular. We have information on our website at breck.com/AOTA. You can find out support information there. So don't just be an Art on the Air listener. Become a supporter or underwriter in whatever amount you're able to do so we continue to bring you this great content and this great local programming. And like I say every week, don't give till it hurts. Give till it feels good. And you'll feel so good about supporting Art on the Air. Information about Art on the Air is available at our website, breck.com/AOTA. That's Breck, BRECH.com/AOTA. That includes a complete show archive, spotlight interviews, plus our show is available on multiple podcast platforms, including NPR One. Please like us on Facebook, Art on the Air, WVLP, for information about upcoming shows and interviews. If you're interested in being a guest or sending us information about your arts-related event or exhibit, please email us at aota@breck.com. That's aota@breck, BRECH.com, or contact us through our Facebook page. Your hosts were Larry Breckner and Esther Golden, and we invite you back next week for another episode of Art on the Air.
Aloha, everyone. Have a splendid week.
Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. You're in the know with Esther and Larry. Art on the air today. Stay in the know with Larry and Esther. Art on the air our way. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world.